Attention, attention, to all Seventh-day Adventists, your attention please. The story is told about an astronaut who visited the moon several years ago, and as his feet touched the moon landing surface, it is purported that he declared, "One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Today, I am declaring one bold step for all Seventh-day Adventists in the worldwide church. Now, I am not a prophet, neither am I the son of a prophet, but God can use anyone or any vessel He chooses to deliver His message. He did it before, and He will certainly do it again. He even used birds and a dumb donkey to deliver His messages." The article's primary focus, the political atmosphere in the SDA Church. First, Seventh-day Adventists differ in about 7 areas of beliefs from the mainstream, worldwide Christian denominations, and these are 1. The Sabbath day of rest given by God. 2. The doctrine of the heavenly sanctuary. 3. The status of the writings of Ellen G. White. 4. The health message and healthy living. 5. The separation of church and state. 6. The state of the dead. 7. The doctrine of the second coming of Christ, and the millennium 1,000 years after His second coming. The Seventh-day Adventist Church opposes abortion. We believe it can have long-term negative effects on individuals and society. The Church's official statement on the biblical view of unborn life states that God considers an unborn child to be a living individual. However, the Church does allow emergency abortions in cases where the mother's life is at risk. The Church also recognizes the moral complexities surrounding abortion and acknowledges that there are many factors that may have influenced a woman's decision to have an abortion. The Seventh-day Adventist Church also considers abortion out of harmony with God's plan for human life because it affects the unborn fetus, the mother, the father, the immediate and extended family members, the church family, and society with long-term consequences for all. So, with those points being established as who we are, here are my inquisitive questions to you. Are you suffering from election loss blues? Are you suffering from sleep disturbances, anxiety and depression because of election losses? Are you personally traumatized by the recent landslide losses for one party? Do you cry and shout from the side of the lake or from the shore of the sea for mental and psychological adjustments? Do you shave off the hair from your head and refuse to sleep with your husband or your wife because of socio-political stress? And are you a part of the political resistance movement? Well, it is apparent that politics has cast a great chasm, a divide in our church among church members, leaders and pastors, but this ought not to be so. God has called us from darkness into His marvelous light. Remember that on the one hand, you are a peculiar people, and on the other hand, you are the remnant people of God, God's church. You are Seventh-day Adventists. Did you know that God did not name the days of the week? He numbered them, and He called the seventh day of the week to Sabbath. Hence we are called Seventh-day Adventists. As we look forward to the second coming of Christ, and fundamentally, we follow the dictates of the Bible and adhere to sound doctrine by keeping God's Sabbath day along with the other 9 commandments. God numbered the days of the week from 1 to 7 and differentiated number 7 by calling it and giving it to us as the Sabbath day, a day of rest and holy reflection. But, yes, it was man who put names to the days of the week and has given them pagan identifications, from the sun's day sun worship by the pagans, the day of the sun Sunday to Saturn's day Saturday, the day of Saturn. So, that you should not be wrapped up and tangled up in any political party whereby a loss pitted you against your family, friends and against your church brethren, especially if that party's ways and means are contrary to the principles of God and is in total opposition to Bible principles and church dogmas. These are the things that the heathens do. So, why are we doing them now? Many values and principles, some political parties, are not in line with Seventh-day Adventist Church core beliefs and biblical principles. But before you throw away your walking cane and start coming after me like a storm chaser, and before you get your feathers all ruffled, hear me out and look with me at the facts and figures, and look with me at the relevance of my message. Then if you cannot see wisdom, then you can ruffle your feathers as much as you want. However, I do hope your spiritual wisdom and your spiritual eyesight and common sense will prevail. Many of these political operatives are on the altar of moral superiority while shoving identify politics down our throats, and meanwhile, pulling the wool over our eyes. Furthermore, it is really a shame to see the hypocrisy and double standards of one political party against the other party. In essence, What the left is saying is what is good for us the goose is not good for you the gander, so take a walk. Please be aware that, in your ignorance God will only smile, that there is a limit to his patience. The Apostle Paul puts it this way, and the times of this ignorance God winked at, but now commandeth all men everywhere to repent, because he hath appointed a day, in the which he will judge the world in righteousness. Acts 17:30-31. If they don't believe that God made man and woman, male and female, and that's how God created he them, which is the mandate and classification from the Creator. But did you know that gender is an important issue with God? The only thing we know about Adam, the first man, and Eve the first woman, is that one was male, and the other was female. We don't know their skin color, their height, or weight, because male and female created he them. Any other belief away from the Bible toward progressive socialist belief is flying in the face of the eternal God. Some are saying my body, my choice, and I can do anything I want to do with it. Wrong again. Your body is not yours. It is only a temporary loan from the one who lent it to you. That belief is not only a foolish farce that borders on insanity and stupidity, but that was also what they thought in Sodom and Gomorrah as well, until fire, sulfur and brimstone ended their progressive and self-centered thoughts. Many government personnel are loving illegal immigrants who broke the law and loving them more than legal citizens. That indeed is a travesty of the highest order. Enter the socialistic and the communistic order. Some groups are also socialist forward-thinking and advocate socialism by referring to each other as comrades, which is in essence the right arm of communism, lest we forget that communism and socialism walk hand in hand, and hand in gloves with each other. And this belief is a political, economic, and philosophical ideology that is considered radical left or radical far left, and it is characterized by a one-party rule, and there is no freedom of speech with them. Along with what was said before, please be aware also that socialism in most cases operates without any regard for truth, justice, or fair play, and displays a blatant disregard for human lives. Now, most political scientists and other analysts usually regard the left as including anarchists, communists, socialists, democratic socialists, social democrats, left-leaning libertarians, progressives, and social liberals. If a party is against religious freedom and religious practices, and against religious studies and Bible in the schoolroom, if they believe their mentally ungodly ideologies are better to be used to educate children for the good of transgenderism, and they believe people can be whatever they want to be from one day to the next, whether LGBTQ or anything else in between, and are fixed on placing biological males in women's sports, that is not a good thing. If they fly in the face of our God-given directions for people's lives, if they are against natural civic law and order, so that if persons do wrongful act, that party is illegally standing by to fight for them and set them free from jail to do more atrocities against the police and against law-abiding citizens, then there is a huge problem with that party. Could it be that you personally need to evaluate your political beliefs, your spiritual behavior, and your common sense attitudes? And so, you ask me, should we evaluate our spirituality against the yardstick of our God-given directives and against man-made dictates and ungodly rules and regulations? Certainly. Indeed, the answer is yes. And so, the obvious and final questions arise. Are you following God's way or the ways of your political party? Some parties are so out of touch that they allow wrongdoers and criminals to rob stores and tear down businesses and occupy other people's houses and private spaces. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Incidentally, lawlessness can never be a good and just state of affairs. What says you? And finally, if those party and people are still in favor of keeping black people in slavery, wherein that is mental slavery, and thus by controlling the so-called narrative, they intend to control the black masses, should that be a concern? Yes, some female political proponents believe in the end of men and the hookup culture, whereby women will be free of men and are able to do whatever they want to do without the interference of men. Well, then, ideological party lovers, beware. He that hath an ear, let him or her hear what the counsels are to the church, because there is a way that seemed right to a man or a woman, but that way is contrary to God's way. Here is wisdom. Let them that have understanding hold on to sound doctrines and the core principles of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Therefore, if there is any logic if there is any spiritual virtue, if there is any common sense, if there is any justice, if there is any spiritual fervor, if there is any knowledge, think on these things, because he that sinneth against the Lord wrongeth his own soul. Proverbs 8:36. Which is most important to you, the political landscape of your party, or the spiritual landscape of your church and the mission of the church given by God? And in Proverbs 14:34, the wise man Solomon counsels God's people. Righteousness exalteth a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. Thanks, blessings.